I want to start today's video off with a light content advisory warning. Not that I'm planning on cursing up and down the video itself, but more or less to highlight some of the toxic comments that you'll be seeing on screen throughout this video. The reason should become more clear as the video progresses, but this video isn't about the toxic side of Final Fantasy XIV's community. It's an opportunity for me to correct some of the fake news and bad narrative that's being shared online. Now, you guys are welcome to always share and meme on anything you want, what I make, but overall, a lot of things have been sent my way, and a lot of bad information's actually being kind of permeated as truth, and this is an opportunity for me to hopefully try and correct that narrative. Whether you want to believe it or not, this is just kind of hopefully my final say on the subject itself. Now, first and foremost, this video should be also chaptered for you, so if you guys check the chapter markers below, you should be able to jump to any particular section. But there's kind of four things that I'd like to touch on. Namely, it's how am I going to focus in on family if I'm focusing in on comedy? That's one thing I keep seeing her talked about. The other one is that I was just doing this all for attention, and then I was only just doing it for the money. That was something that was really interesting and kind of news to me. The third one was, how am I actually getting any time by quitting 14 and moving over to New World? I want to talk about that. And then finally, I'd like to talk about that I quit because the community is toxic. And that's not true at all, but I want to kind of talk about that. And that is something that the community has a part of it. And that's something that I have been on the forefront and can continue to shine a light on that side of the community, because I think light is the best disinfectant. So enjoy some of the comments that you see here. This is only a small fraction of them. Trust me, they get a lot worse. But these are some of what I have to deal with and have been dealing with for the last several years. This isn't just something isolated within the last year alone. This has been something that's been ongoing for a very, very long time. And I'm glad to highlight that. And I'm glad to hopefully call some level of shame to that. And they should feel shame. And that's the goal of what I do. All right, so first topic in and of itself, scheduling. How am I supposed to focus in on family and also focus in on a comedy career? And this is something very I was really surprised that a lot of people have kind of spread that, like that this isn't real, that I'm not really doing comedy, or that I'm not focusing on family, I'm neglecting them for comedy in and of itself. And well, first and foremost, guys, if you are in the Fort Worth area, note that I'm going to be playing at Hyenas. This is downtown Fort Worth on January 21st. You can come see my show. We got a really kind of interesting flyer. It is adult comedy. So if you are easily offended, if you got a thin skin, I would totally avoid the show. But if you got a thick skin, you're willing to laugh at yourself a little bit, maybe this will be a good time. So you guys can come check that out. How am I able to do this with the family? Well, it's actually quite simple. Kids go to sleep and comedy's at night. Like, it's a function of that. Now, why am I doing that instead of playing 14? Well, 14 generally was also in that same time slot. In fact, 14 competed more with Final Fantasy 14 than anything else that I do. And so that ends up being the case. Now, I also might have some shows coming up in Austin. Haven't had anything confirmed yet, so I'm not making any official announcements. But guess what happens if I go to Austin? My family is mobile, right? I told my wife, I was like, well, if we end up getting booked in Austin, let's get an Airbnb, make a whole like fun weekend date out of it, bring the kids. Y'all can go, we can all go have fun during the day, and comedy's at night. So the answer to that, or at least the counterpoint to that, the kind of point that I see out there, is comedy's at night, and people are allowed to go on planes and in cars to places. I don't think those are anywhere at all contradictory or at odds with one another. So anyway, hopefully that helps clarify that point. Now, second point, attention and money. This is something really interesting, because one of the things that, if you've been following my content for any period of time, you'll know that I have a massive concern for algorithms. I have a massive concern for social media. Part of what I do, in fact, a big part of it, 90% of me making these kind of videos, me talking about it, looking into the stats, helping people grow their channels, is about understanding the dangers and the risks. Because the number one job that people seem to list, the kids seem to list, is that they want to be a YouTuber. So my whole role as a parent, and this has been my goal since day one, is to actually understand what is going on to the best of my ability to protect my kids, and maybe even to protect yours. I have a lot of parents consult with me about social media, YouTube, Twitch, all of that, because there is a massive interest, and I'm able to provide a lot of light to what is actively happening here. So the thing that everybody should know, and if you don't know this, this is going to maybe blow your mind. Social media is about attention. That's actually the currency of all social media. So accusing me of doing something for attention is like accusing water of being wet. Anybody who makes a video and hits public on it, anybody who leaves a comment on a video, anybody who tweets about anything, anybody who streams, it's an attention-driven currency. In fact, the best ones, the biggest people, are the people who can get and also hold the attention. Now, let's put the word just in front of that phrase. I'm just doing this for attention, and nothing could be further from the truth. I have a job, I have a life, I have a family, I have a passion for making content, and it also is driven off the wanting to understand everything that is and will be this social media aspect, because the studies alone should terrify the living shit out of you if you're a parent. All the different impacts that are happening on kids' brains and their development. Like, this is a drug. Let's be honest. Attention, dopamine, all of this. Same aspect applies within gaming. These are unregulated drugs, and it's my job as a parent to try and help regulate that within my family and even within myself. And so there's a big reason why you'll hear me continually say, get this stuff off your phone. It's bad. It's dangerous. A lot of content creators that I love greatly, and we talk privately, I'm saying, get it off your phone and just see how much your mental health and your happiness improves. Because social media is fake. Just understand that. Now, do I post things publicly for attention? Hell yes. Everybody does. That is something, and that is a part of the currency. Now, the goal should be, and my goal that I try to always do a self-litmus test on everything I make, is what value am I driving to the viewer? What am I giving them that they can hopefully make their day better? And it's usually my expertise on any number of things. I would consider myself now within the social media sphere somewhat knowledgeable about what's going on behind the scenes and what you need to be aware of. I see a lot of people make a lot of mistakes, and I try to help correct that, because I see a lot of people get their emotions tied into social media, and that's a big danger. I would say completely divorce yourself from the content you make, and you're going to have a better life. I've seen a lot of people say I've got a thin skin. That in and of itself is news to me. That's news to everybody that I know. When I shared some of those comments with people, they were the ones busting out laughing, because that's one of the things that my wife wishes I had more of. She wishes I was more sensitive to the words that people actually say about me, because my superpower is that I don't get embarrassed, and you can say whatever you want about me. That's fine. Now, if it's incorrect, I'm going to take time to correct it, because that's, I think, the thing that I owe people. And I think that's the value of what I do, especially in a video kind of like this. Now, in terms of money, this is really fun, because there's only been 3 times I've actually needed the money and used the money personally from my years on YouTube. Most of it ended up going to Chris at Work to Game for quite a period of time, and now we have a nice little equitable split. He's tried to do full-time content creation before, and I've been all about that and basically let him have the lion's share, if not the majority of that, for a period of time over at Work to Game. Within here, the only times I've ever touched the money was twice when I got COVID. I got COVID twice, and I wasn't able to work, and that kind of helped supplement a little bit of my income. And when I say a little bit, we're not talking about a lot. I shared it in another video. Like, the summer I was bringing in $600 a month. Nothing, and for the effort and the hours and more, nothing to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to quit my job as a software engineer with a family of, guess what, guys? Baby number 6 on the way, right? Like, this is not sustainable for the money. And if I was going to do anything, I would do other programming things for the money. In fact, I've got a couple announcements on that coming in the near future. Hopefully I'll be able to share that with you guys in 2022. But if not, keep an eye out for 2023. Pretty excited about this stuff that's happening. But from a monetization perspective, the 3rd time was when I was looking for more work. Most of my contracts as an independent dried up, and I asked for help, and you guys stepped up and actually helped cover some of the gap, so I didn't have to completely dip into savings. We were drawing down from savings over the course of the summer because everything got slow, and this doesn't cover it. Most of the money that I've made outside of those 3 months, I've either invested back into the channel with the lights and a nice little microphone. I appreciate that. The other side of it has been all within charity, and many of you have been the beneficiaries of that. I don't share my charitable works. I don't share them anytime that I give out money. I don't need that. And I learned from my grandfather, before he passed away, that the best charity is the charity you keep to yourself. I don't like sharing that I'm a charitable person because it makes me feel sick inside. But this is the internet, and this is my defense of the information that's out there. So that's what I want to say about attention to money. Yeah, if you're leaving a comment on this video, you're doing it for attention. Like, that in and of itself is this. We have to accept that attention is this currency. There's an interesting thread I posted over on Twitter talking about how crypto might change that in the future. And I use might because I don't know where that's going. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on that whole mess. But note to self, it was an interesting read, and I've got it over on my Twitter if you care to follow me. But you really should take a break from social media. It's good for you. Now, number 3, quitting and moving to New World. I didn't move to New World. I've been playing New World the same time. The third kind of point is I'm getting time back because I'm not trying to play 2 MMOs in a very hardcore way as a family guy. And so most of it ended up competing with my comedy career. I spend a lot of time with my family. Like I said, I coach and spend time with them. And a part of this is not getting up at the, ass crack of dawn, before like 4 or 3 in the morning, which is what I could do sometimes more often than not 5. And if I do get up early, then I'm working on health, exercise, and things like that. Or I'm just getting the natural human amount of sleep. I think Asmund said something about like, you need more than 7 hours. Dude, I'm lucky if I get, a couple hours without getting kicked from a kid crawling and jumping on me in bed in the middle of the night. Like, if you have kids, the concept of sleep is this goal, right? Like, you have goals in MMOs, we all do. Like, it's my MSQ, man. Like, I'm constantly working. At some point, that's going to be achieved. But it's the reality of it. So getting a little bit more sleep, I'm already feeling insanely way more healthy, way more balanced, and very peaceful about it. And the sleep I've been getting has been great too. Pro tip, I got tested for sleep apnea, came back negative, but I've been sleeping with like the Breathe Right Easy nose strips and stuff like that you might use for a cold. Game changer. Absolutely freaking adore it. Couldn't praise it enough. And my sleep has just gone way through the roof. Now, the final thing is talking about the toxic side of Final Fantasy XIV's community. This is something I've dealt with a long time. This is a damned if you do, damned if you don't conversation. People will say, it's not happening. The community isn't toxic. You're just making this up. They never did this to you. And then I show it, and then they say, oh my gosh, like, why are you showing this? This isn't anything good. I believe light is the best disinfectant. I believe light is the best disinfectant, and I do get frustrated, and I see comments that people make horrible things to other content creators. What I've shared here in this video is a fraction of that. It's just a small fraction of what I've seen and received over the years. I have a thick skin. It doesn't bother me. They didn't get me to quit Final Fantasy XIV. I finished the game. I've spent 13 plus years, plus meaning Project Rapture, which is what the game is called before it was ever announced to the public. That's something that I was just absolutely passionate about. And I've been wonderfully enjoying playing New World, and it gives me that Final Fantasy XI feeling again. And Final Fantasy XIV did that, actually in 1.0. And there's a lot that Final Fantasy sacrificed, rightfully so, to save Square Enix. I want 14 to continue and to grow and to be an incredible game for everybody. I want more people to check it out. I'm going to encourage them to do so, but I'm going to let them know about the shitholes that exist in the game. And those people actively hurt Final Fantasy XIV, and it's that action that these people who think they're the defenders of it, who are actively hurting the game, keeping people away. And I've talked to numerous people who are terrified of playing Final Fantasy XIV because of people like that, because of people like this. I don't know if I'm showing it on the screen or not. We'll figure it out in post. And that really frustrates me. Final Fantasy XIV is a game that everybody should experience. People also have stayed like, oh, he's fallen out of love with it. No, it's done. The story concluded. It was a really good experience. And I'm going to go do these other things. And this is good for me. And I hope that, and honestly, the thing is that a lot of the comments that I've seen have been insanely positive. And you guys are the absolute freaking legends and the best. For that, I appreciate that. A lot of that was I created a troll bait. I captured a lot of algorithmic data to suppress those who cannot, for some reason, fathom that I'm no longer playing Final Fantasy XIV and that I'm in love with New World. It's such a great experience. I'm also checking out other MMOs very casually because that's the time I can afford as a parent and as the sole provider to my family. There is not a lot of free time. and I get to choose how I want to do that. And that's what I'm doing. And there's so many of you guys who've been cheering that on and have been thrilled by that aspect. And for those of you who are offended, like if nothing else, if you watch and listen to no other words that I'm going to say right now, if you are personally offended that I spent over 13 years covering this game, that I continue to encourage people to play Final Fantasy XIV and do so with passion, check out their free trial. It's incredible. Best controller support out there for an MMORPG. I will help answer your questions if you ask them in the comments. Like, that's something that I'm very passionate about. But if you're personally offended that I've retired from Final Fantasy XIV, you need to look in the mirror, you need to go touch some grass, and you need to ask yourself some hard life questions as to why. Why are you offended that I'm not playing? And if you come up with an answer, you feel free to sound off in the comments below. Happy to kind of listen to that. I'm always happy to engage with people who want to have a rational discussion. And you can always hit me up also on Discord or on Twitter. In fact, I think I'm going to be collabing with Zeppla here in a couple weeks once all the Dragonflight hype is gone. And that's what it's going to be. And that's where we're going to go with it. For those who, there's also like a handful, like this is kind of like little bits. People confused that I was talking about Final Fantasy 16, saying, didn't I quit? And clearly they don't know the difference between a couple of numbers, or like maybe they're dyslexic as well and got the numbers kind of mixed around. I can understand that. But no, I'm really excited about 16. I absolutely love Final Fantasy. It's a pillar of my video game history. It helped teach me how to read. It helped me to really kind of overcome dyslexia. It helped me learn how to really talk and develop friends, especially in high school. It was thrilling when all of a sudden all my high school friends that I played sports with were playing Final Fantasy VII. I was always this nerd. I still am. And and so there's a lot of bad takes out there. I thought it's been interesting to see. And I thought I'd, like I said, spend some time in this video to hopefully try and correct those, provide a little bit more context, and ultimately hopefully provide you with something of value, like I try to do in every one of my videos. Anyway, guys, if you guys didn't see, if you guys like my New World content, I have Ginger World Gaming. It just crossed over 10,000 subscribers. I've got Ginger Blue covering Blue Protocol. That just crossed over 1,000 subscribers. Like, I clearly understand how to build content and channels, and that's a big part of what I do. Go check out the other content that I make if you like the content that I make. Ginger Prime will continue to be my variety, my comparison, and so much more. There's a lot to talk about. There's still going to be plenty of things that we can talk about going forward. And I promise you, I'm going to finish those controller guides. And hopefully we'll get that done soon. Family got sick, a lot of sickness this in November, so I wasn't available for basically anything. And then my dad had to have major surgery, and thankfully he's recovering as well. So if you guys made it all the way to the end of this video, sound off in the comments below, Soul Nation, or you love to see it. I don't know, some kind of comment or variant of that. Appreciate you guys so much for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I'll see you in my next video. And until then, take care.